Howdy, howdy, fellow movie fans, and welcome back for another edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast, brought to you by BT Creative. As always, we're your hosts, Evan and Dylan Davies. Now, Dylan, I'm going to let you introduce the film that we're talking about today as part of the big box office series, because something tells me you like this movie.
Yeah, well, we still have not recorded the end to our top 100s. I won't spoil where it is on my list, but it's definitely in the top 5. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes. So, what are we talking about today here?
We're talking about Jaws, the first Jaws.
So it is 50th anniversary this year. And I think we technically just missed the anniversary date for release by like a couple weeks or whatever. But like, who cares? 50th anniversary, We're here. You've gotten to see us go big box office 3 times this month, which is a rarity for us lately with the tournament and then top 100 series and whatever. And we hope you're enjoying those things, but it's been a rarity. And you just got your Sleepaway Camp commentary track, which was a lot of fun for us to record, so go check that out. But we're in full Jaws mode. I actually have I don't have many, but I have like 2 negative comments about the film, and I'm already preparing for you to be like, shut up. It's amazing. No problems.
I only have one problem with this movie, and it's one shot. That's it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's very fair. Obviously, Jaws has been talked to death already. 50 years.
Yeah.
Why is this movie still in the zeitgeist? Why is this movie still so spectacular to watch?
To me, it's because it doesn't matter. New audiences, it doesn't matter to them. It will still work.
Yeah.
Like the tension and some scares in particular are actually still like pretty thrilling. It doesn't matter because it's not like it's an effects movie, really. It really isn't.
No, especially when it's an effects movie. That's where you can see a little bit of the flaw in the film. It's the pacing to the film. It's the paranoia set by the film that's really well done.
Yeah, it's it doesn't rely on anything. It just is good filmmaking. So movies like Jurassic World, which we're going to talk about eventually in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That will date itself inherently by its effects.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it won't work for future generations. But I think Jaws is one of those movies that, because it doesn't rely on any effects or anything like that, it's just a good story with well-told and well-made points of tension.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing to say. What's really odd is in watching this film, obviously this is Spielberg's breakout movie,
Yeah.
And because what is Sugarland Express prior to this?
He did
is his only directorial debut as on
no.
film.
So he had Duel, and then he had Sugarland Express.
Okay.
The year before.
I thought Sugarland Express was his first feature, but I forgot about Duel.
Maybe Duel is a TV movie. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it is a TV movie, it's damn good for a TV movie. Like it's really well made.
Wait, are you saying Steven Spielberg knows what he's doing?
But like even on a TV movie budget in the 70s, that'd be impressive if he made Duel with that.
That's fair. So the reason
it's pretty minimal story though. So
I do want to say this and bring it up. What's so funny to me is how familiar this film feels. But if you put it in the context of 1975, this is a bunch of people now finding their true calling. This isn't... What's funny is you still get 60s sci-fi composer John Williams. You don't have master of the craft, undisputed king of the craft John Williams. And you can hear him playing and trying to figure it out. And it's really fun.
And one of the funny things is I just watched a movie called Earthquake, which is like one of those big ensemble movies with like a bunch of stars in it from the 70s that
classic
were being made
ensemble disaster film.
Yeah, they were being made like all the time back then, and I found out that was a John Williams score, and I was like, This does not feel like John Williams because like you barely notice the music at all in it.
That's
So
wild.
it's really weird. Yeah, it was really weird to see that.
And I think that same thing for Spielberg. You can tell the mastery, but the mastery is not throughout the film on an obvious level like Spielberg usually has. The mastery's
Oh,
kind of
sure.
like by the time you're into Raiders, by the time you're into E.T., and then obviously all the films of the 80s and early 90s that he does, you can tell that this is the master of the craft. Like to me, when I watch Jaws, it's like watching in a modern football context, it's like watching that first starting season for Patrick Mahomes, where he just comes out here and you're like, whoa, never seen this before, and it's still raw and unrefined, but you just know it's great. Where you just go, yeah, 50 touchdowns says that. This is
Yeah.
what Jaws feels like.
To me, it's still he's still a better filmmaker at that young of an age than most his peers.
Yeah.
Like, and he was in the crowd of like all the up and coming people back then.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I love about this movie is you can tell immediately how great he is with geography in a shot, where he'll
Yes.
turn one shot into like different setups within that one shot. In particular, I'm talking about the one where they're on that little like barge thing
Yeah.
with the car, the ferry. That that's one continuous shot, but manages to get like four separate setups within that little space.
Mm-hmm.
It really reminds me of the scene with Brody and Indy in Raiders,
Yeah.
where he's packing to go for the trip to Nepal. That's another scene that's like he's just genius at staging.
He understands the spatial awareness of what's around him and can communicate him. That's the biggest thing that many people fail to realize is it's when making a movie, there's a difference between oh my god, that was a great movie, and I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this before, or I've seen higher quality than this before, and then making something feel real and tangible. That's different greatness. I think that's why sometimes the Oscar movies don't do well. Is you can tell someone's working their ass off. You can tell that oh my god, this is a phenomenal performance. But look at how many of those Oscar movies are not good. But there's one performance that the whole movie is known for where you're like, hey,
Mhm.
I don't love the movie, but goddamn, so and so is working their ass off. There's a mastery there, but it's not a tangible, real thing like some of these shots that we're talking about, in which you perfectly understand where's the beach, where's the line of demarcation that I need to go to, where is the space in between us. Can you feel that tangibly where you could reach out and touch it and go, yep, I know where that is. 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 There's just
Mhm.
something about it that he is just better than everybody else. I don't know what it is. Because if you could teach it, everyone would have learned it by now.
I I think it is simply a matter of not rushing himself. I think that's a lot of it. It seems like he's very deliberate about how he wants a scene to play out in terms of staging. And it's so much easier to just do cutaways, like film one side of a conversation and then the other,
Yep.
because that's 10 times easier to do while filming. You can have as many cuts as you want. Whereas with one continuous shot, everyone's got to hit their mark and everyone has to know their lines perfectly, or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's just about, I think it is about not rushing himself. And that goes a little bit to his detriment during Jaws because apparently the crew absolutely hated him because, like, he was so much over budget, he was so far behind on schedule.
Famously, he went 100 days over shooting schedule.
Yeah.
I mean,
At the
that's
same,
that's over 3 months of your life, and we're
yeah.
talking days, and they still get time off during these movies too. So you're talking at least 4 months of your life that you thought you were going to get back is
Mhm.
gone.
Yeah, so I think it is a thing of even though he's going over on budget and time, I really don't think he's like pressuring himself to just get it done.
Yeah.
it seems like he's still taking care to put some thought into everything.
Well, it's hilarious that you brought up Raiders because that was the whole impetus to Raiders. Was the challenge? Can I get it done on time with no reshoots? He's just like,
Yeah,
can I go in and actually teach myself how to do this and be like, boom, 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 we're
yeah.
done.
And some directors can learn to do that, and then others, like in particular James Cameron, he cannot learn to do that. So what does he do? He just starts producing the films himself because
Hmm.
he's like, you know what? I am not going to be like just pushed into releasing something that I know I'm not confident in. And that's a smart decision on his
Yeah.
behalf. But he also could probably, learn to do it a little more efficiently, which Spielberg is able to do now.
Yeah, and that's the thing is how often would the shots that they see the flaws in would we see the flaws in?
I very rarely, I'm guessing.
And that's the thing is it's always like we talked about the George Lucas cut on a Star Wars episode recently when we covered Empire, and part of the reason that the re-releases happened with the special editions was he's like, well, I know people love that movie, but to me it's a very imperfect movie. I saw all the glue, I saw all
Hmm.
the tape, I saw all the matte lines,
Yeah,
I saw everything. So to me it was a hyper flawed film where you
sure.
guys fell in love with it, and it's funny because nobody noticed. Like nobody noticed in
Yeah,
the
I,
audience.
I, I am so thankful that when all those special editions of everything were coming out, that Spielberg never touched Jaws at
Yeah,
all. He never went, oh, we can do probably some digital effects to make this shark look a little better at times. I
and
love that he didn't touch it.
and the thing is this: objectively speaking, that is true.
Yeah, 100%.
They could have made the shark look better. The shark was part of the reason they went over schedule so often was
Yeah.
because the shark just malfunctioned constantly. However,
The stories behind that are like hilarious. That some of the things they didn't think were going to happen. It's like, it seems like a pretty obvious thing that would happen, like it not working in salt water. I don't know how they're like, oh, we'll just always have fresh water to shoot on, but it's like, you know where your location is, right? Like it's surrounded by salt water. It's an ocean.
I do love the hubris of it though. It's like it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you have confidence in the thing you built, and at times it looks fantastic.
It does, and at times I don't want to say booty cheeks, but
I was gonna say dodgy.
dodgy is a great word for it. There's times you're like, I can see it.
Hmm.
You kind of got to be like, okay. But then there's times where you're like, man, this shark looks damn good, brother. Looks
Yeah,
damn good.
90% of the time it looks great.
Yeah.
Which, again, if this was digital effects, if this came out nowadays, 10% is pretty hard to forgive visual effects
Oh
nowadays
yeah.
because we've come accustomed to them.
Well, again, we talked about Jurassic World. That's an episode that's coming your guys' way quickly. We're going to be doing like a big. We are about to hit the 1 year mark on this channel of doing the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. So in that, you are essentially getting two bonus shows in June/July because we want to get Jurassic World out before Jurassic World Rebirth. We still have
And
a top one.
anniversary.
Yeah, and the anniversary, the 10th anniversary. We still have our top 100 series episode that's releasing in June. Plus, we're getting ready for July, and there's no way in hell we're going to skip the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future, especially since that's my birthday week as well. So we're gonna enjoy our time doing that one. So Jurassic World, even I've watched it for the show. Dylan and I are preparing that show right now, and even still, it's 10 years old, and at the time, that looked immaculate.
Hmm.
Immaculate. You could when you were in the theater, as much as that's a flawed movie at times, you still go, God damn, this looks good. And then just watching it on the couch, getting ready for the show, I was like, could look a little better there. Could look a little better
Yeah,
there. Okay, that still
that's the
looks great.
problem.
But
Like,
then,
visual effects, the more advanced they become, the better. But also, I think they'll age. Not like it will become more noticeable with age
true.
because they become so advanced so quickly.
I'm sorry I'm yawning all day long. I just got off a summer camp shift with a bunch of kids, so I've been running all day, so
Yeah,
I'm getting
that'll
tired.
tire you out.
It will tire you out. These ruffians. We were having a water war on the splash pad at the community park today, so hence the reason my hair also looks the way that it does. But that's how it goes. All right, let's start here. I love the open of this film. It's just so simple.
Yep.
From the first shot of the shark POV going through, theoretically the shark POV, going through
Yep.
the reef and everything, you get your hippie bonfire and everything, but it's so smart.
Again, that first shot of the campfire scene, that's one continuous shot again,
Mm-hmm.
where it just plays out before you, and there's that one loner out on the edge of the group.
Always.
It's great. I can't talk about his staging enough. Like that's the brilliance of Steven Spielberg to me.
Oh, yeah, the staging is immaculate here. And I just love that shot continues. And we continue the themes of, oh, these hippies, they're out having their party, doing whatever, smoking some weed, doing whatever they want to do, which no shame in it.
Hmm.
And then get them in the water, everything's fine, done. But you only have
Yeah.
theoretically a drunk witness, if that, and a dead girl. You don't know anything else, and you're just like shark attack. And you, as an audience member, you know it's the shark, but
Hmm.
it sets up all the other characters to go. I don't know. I don't know. What could it be?
Yeah.
And starts the paranoia off perfectly because you started at. It's the same thing when you watch a great play or a musical on stage, when they can do something for the audience to know, but the rest of the characters don't get to see it. So you can be in on the gag, or you can be in on the secret the entire time, and you're just like, I know it's coming. I know that motherfucking shark is coming back.
Yeah.
And then it makes everybody on the lines of good and evil crystal clear immediately. Where you're just like, no, you fucking idiots, you're wrong. Or, thank you, help these people, get rid of this goddamn shark.
Yeah. One of the things I always think is kind of curious is how like laid back the guy is when he's like, "Oh, she must have got hit by a boat or something. Like, must have drowned." It's like, dude, you should be a little more worried about. I mean, I know you didn't know her, but it's still like a woman is dead and
You
or
were
missing.
you theoretically were involved technically. I mean,
Yeah,
very loosely, but technically speaking.
and really, at that point, she's just missing. So it's almost like, dude, you could be arrested for murder or something like that.
Yeah.
Like if this was a different story.
God, it's so fun to watch that. It's so fun to watch those moments and be like, bro. I love getting to work with Brody and just watch him through.
Yeah.
Roy Schneider does such a good job with that character where he's just Roy Schneider, my apologies.
No,
Roy,
no end.
yeah, Roy
Common
Schneider.
mistake.
Yes, Roy Scheider. And I love how he just has this perfect 5% baseline annoyance with everybody, where he's just like, and it's classic storytelling. Big city detective coming to live a quiet life, and then
Hmm.
realizes that's always a part of him. And these quiet island folks are like, well, what's the big deal? And he's like, what do you mean what's the big deal? Like, we gotta
Yeah.
do
Well,
something.
it's also it's so nice that this isn't like a bloated movie at all,
Yes.
because you could see like maybe there'd be a setup where he moves from New York to the smaller town or something like that. You could see that happening, but
Yes.
instead they just cut straight to like in the middle of a storyline already happening, which is
Sure.
nice. That's what most films should do.
You don't need it.
Yeah, not
Unless
everything
it's
needs a setup.
unless it is absolutely essential to show it, don't show it.
Yeah, it's the common thing that people say about Star Wars is the one of the best things is the world building and how everything feels like a story has been playing out before the story actually begins
Yes.
for us. Yeah.
You don't just show up and then people are talking and then you build 30 minutes of tension and then
Hmm.
the Star Wars break out. You're just like,
Yeah,
"Oh shit. Things are
Because
going.
really, most of the time, a catalyst will start right around the 10-minute mark or 10 pages into a script.
Yeah.
Typically, is when you want to hit that. But this one, I mean, it's immediate. The shark attack happens in the first
Well,
two
I mean
minutes.
that's that generation of filmmakers. That was one thing that they really did well. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter
rule
if
breaking too.
it's doesn't matter if it's Spielberg or if it's Lucas.
Coppola.
Coppola does it as well. Scorsese does it a lot of times in his earlier
Hmm.
work, where it's let's get straight to the fucking point. Let's do this. It's part
Yeah,
of
De
the reason
Palma.
we've done so many Star Wars episodes already, and we still have more to do. But look at the prequel trilogy as an example. Those first two, there is no goddamn urgency when you start.
Yeah,
Because you just go, the story begins and we have to let it play. Where the third one, it starts and it literally says the word war, and then you immediately fly into a battle, and you're like, yep,
yeah,
at least this is the most exciting that a prequel trilogy has started.
yeah. And immediately in Jaws, immediately tension starts rising for the audience before it starts rising for the characters.
Yeah.
Because we know, hey, there's a shark there. It's the, what is it called? Dramatic irony,
Yeah.
when the audience knows something that the characters don't.
Generally speaking, I
Like,
believe so, yeah.
yeah,
If I recall my if I recall my my English degree classes.
yeah. I was gonna say I'm trying to remember what I learned in all my English classes too. I think it was dramatic irony, but it's like we were like, oh my god, dude, you need to step up your game. You need to be moving faster. Put those signs out on the beach and everything.
Yeah.
Because there's a fucking shark, and there it's like he's moving so slow and methodically that it's like, oh man, this is
And the worst part is what I think the smartest thing this movie does that will never be given credit by anyone unless they're really trying to dive deep. And I'm not trying to say I'm some deep analysis guy that, oh, I've got all the secrets no one else does. Is exactly what you said is he starts with urgency and then he pulls back
Mhm.
because he's giving way to politics. He's giving way to his relationships that he doesn't want to break automatically. And you're like, no, you had it. If you would just
Yeah.
listen to yourself and bet, like, this is where you love the Maverick Cop. This
Mhm.
classic storytelling, it's classic movies, especially of that era where you're like, we want the cop that's just a little dirty. Not the whole
A little,
thing.
yeah, a little bit of a renegade.
We want French Connection Gene Hackman.
Yes.
If Hackman is doing that on Amity Island, those beaches are closed. And he's gonna sit there with a revolver going like, get off the fucking beach.
Yeah, he wouldn't be taking shit from the mayor.
No, he would have been like, you're either gonna take this bullet to the side of the head or you're gonna listen to me when I say
Yeah.
no one's going on the beach.
Another thing that has aged well with this movie is the politics of it all
Oh yeah.
will always be relevant.
Greed is always relevant.
Yeah.
Greed is always relevant. And that's the thing is I love again that early meeting after our first death that actually affects the community. Because, rando girl dies. Apparently nobody cares. Which,
Yeah.
there's another commentary in and of itself there that, like, oh, a random young woman dies, nobody gives a shit. It's like, that's actually pretty good commentary for nowadays as well. Or just society in general. Young kid dies, and then the whole community's up in arms. Like,
Mhm.
oh, we're going to put a bounty out and all this. And all these business owners, I love the flip in that meeting. I know we're skipping around a little bit here, but it's to get on
That's
that
okay.
point. Is I love that later stage middle aged woman with the darker hair and the glasses. And she thinks she's all about common decency and respect.
You know what I always call her? Coral Dosher. She looks a lot like grandma.
She does, for context, that is our grandmother. There's some choral vibes there, especially if you look at some of Grandma's old photos.
Yeah.
There's some of Grandma's vibes there for sure. The thing about it is I love how she's like, I don't think that's funny at all. Anything that could be remotely
Mhm.
uh, satirizing this death or belittling this death in any way, she doesn't think it's funny at all. But the second Brody says we're gonna close the beaches and it's gonna affect her bottom line, magically she doesn't care anymore.
Exactly.
She's like,
Yep.
well, what do you mean the beaches are gonna be closed? We can't do that. We live off that. It's like I hate to break it to you. In this situation, the thing is this: we do this every day in life, and we've accepted. The thing is this: is people don't realize when you go out, walking on the side of the road, on the sidewalk, even driving your car, going to the grocery store. Every choice you have technically does involve human death, in some way, shape, or form.
Sure.
We've
There's
just
inherent risk with most things.
There's
Yeah.
inherent risk to everything, and you've accepted the risks for that. In this situation where the risk is very obvious, shark that kills. The way Jaws sets it up, no matter what, if the shark's there, it's going to kill somebody, or it's going to kill multiple people. So we have shark death versus your livelihood, which could be delayed, not even taken away, just delayed, and you automatically go, well, can't delay my livelihood.
Well, I mean, there is like a valid argument on both sides.
There is.
Like the town does need the money because they live off their summer seasons. So it's like you can understand their point of view, you just don't agree with it because you know better.
Yes, you do as the
As an audience.
Yes, as an audience. It's just a little bit of the scale. I think that's the only issue I have with that slightly. And talking that issue again is some of them are like, we need the money. They don't even care. They're just like, who cares?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, people die from sharks. And you're like,
I mean, technically speaking, that's how you should actually look at it because, like, a shark attack is such a rare thing.
yes, in a reality-based concept. Because if one, how many people die of a shark attack in the U.S. every year?
I don't know, but I know you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than you do getting attacked by a shark.
Correct. It happens every year, though. If someone said, shark attack, we're going to close the beaches down until we find this one lone shark, I'd be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No. Like, I also question some of the logic on the beach, and I'll get to that when we get to those points, but that'd be ridiculous. Whereas if you get two people dead within days of each other, and they're just like, who cares? It's fine. And they're all in a hyper-concentrated area. I'm like, no. Now you're a negligent motherfucker.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit for that.
That's true. There are such things as, like, literal man-eaters out there.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's sharks that do, like, the territorial thing. And, like, there was a lion in Africa that killed, like, 130 men. And, like, they just never did anything about it. It's like, wow. Maybe step up your game there, guys.
Exactly. It's just all situationally based.
Yeah.
What does this situation call for?
That's the one thing I really don't like about Jaws is the cultural effect it had on the shark population. Like, immediately it became something to be scared of. When in reality, like, sharks, they don't want to eat you. They don't have a taste for human. Like, they mistakenly
If they did, we'd have
attack
more
people
shark attacks.
all the time.
Yes, that is very true.
Because the shark population saw a legitimate, like, crash after this movie came out.
Yes. And
Which, I mean, that shows the power of the movie is, like, it is very scary.
I mean, people still think they're going to get attacked by sharks in inland lakes. We talked about this on one of the shows when Jaws got brought up. Like, there are people we grew up with where we legitimately heard them on inland lakes, freshwater lakes. We're like, well, I don't want to get bit by a shark. And you're like, there's no sharks here, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
But if you play the Jaws theme out on by a lake, people get scared.
oh, yeah. No, because you start getting, I don't know what's down there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the same thing. Like, how many people that you and I both know in our lives or in general growing up where you could see the bottom and it was kind of firm, everyone's like, totally fine. The second it kind of got that silty, softer feel and a couple plants started to come up, everyone's like, nope, don't know. I don't know what's down there, so I might die. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
The water versus the clearer water. Yeah.
Yes. And the thing is this, I am the same way. I have no issue saying this.
No, I think inherently humans have a fear of the ocean.
You fucking should. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. Because you literally don't know what's under you 90% of the time. So it is like, and you have to also consider sharks will attack people. I think on average it's like 3 feet of water that they usually attack in. So
Yeah,
it's like that is a scary fucking thought.
yeah. This isn't
It's
oh, I just
it's
paddled out too far and I fucked myself and it's my
yeah.
problem. It's like
It's
I was just
yeah.
walking out with my family on a nice little trip here. You know, most adults you're barely above the waist at that point and then you're getting attacked. It's like,
Yeah,
damn.
I don't think there's a situation where human vulnerability is higher than in an ocean.
Well, I remember when we were kids and we went to North Carolina for a vacation, and I
Hmm.
think it was porpoises, if I recall. If we're actually we're gonna break down the science, the most logical thing was porpoises. But we saw dorsal fins, and both you and I were like, "Fuck that!" And we just sprinted
Yeah,
back to the shoreline. We're like, and I remember you and Dad went back out, and I was like, "You're out of your fucking minds." I will go up to this spot and I
yeah,
will go no further. There's no chance in hell. I'm not taking that chance. You guys do it all you want, but I ain't gonna do it. I remember Mom just being
yeah.
like, I can't blame him. Like even
No, no.
Mom's
I
like,
mean,
and Mom was rough and tumble too. She's just like, you're gonna be fine. Stop.
it's it's a rational thing, but rational in terms of a legitimate fear you should have.
Yeah.
But it is also like statistically that kind of thing. You have to like kind of overpower that in your mind.
Yes, it's kind of like the first time an anxious person goes on an airplane. We're like, well, statistically speaking, and
Yeah.
you're like, I always remember it from Superman Returns, where he's like, statistically speaking, he's caught a plane
Mhm.
and saved him from a crash, and he's just like, statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel. And you're
Yep.
like,
Yep.
I don't think anybody in this plane, outside of maybe Lois Lane, is gonna ever get back on a plane. Because my ass probably wouldn't. I'd probably like, unless I will say I do have a healthy dose of. There's no way this could happen twice. Like I do have a
True.
healthy dose of that, but even I would still. I don't want to come off as too brave here. I just admitted that if I see a dorsal fin, I'm out. I'm done. I
I
don't care
don't
if I'm
blame
right
you.
or wrong. I don't care
Yeah.
if I'm right or wrong. I don't give a shit. Just why do we need to play those odds? We don't need to play
I
those
knew
odds.
I knew people growing up who like I don't think they would ever step foot in the ocean ever,
No.
just because fear. Which, I mean,
The thing is, I have a very healthy, in my opinion, fear of the open ocean. It freaks me the fuck out. I don't ever
yeah,
want to be a part of it. For instance, Dry Tortugas National Park. It's 2.5, 3 hours off the coast of Key West. And you take a big ferry over there for most people that go, unless you charter a seaplane. And it's a fort. It's a pentagonal fort. And we're swimming around it by the edges, and there's all these coral reefs, and it's very cool. Saw a Portuguese man of war, and a kid was fucking with it, and Ab and I both were like, "You will die if you do that wrong. Step away from this thing." Like
mm,
you do not understand. If you get too close to that and you are stung, you are dead. And I have a medical student right here telling you, soon to be a doctor telling you, no, do not do that because I can't
yeah,
resuscitate you. But I remember it's kind of like you feel kind of safe because you're right off the beach. You can see the sand. You can do all this stuff. You get to one side of the fort, it's pure open gulf. And I just went, turning back.
mm,
I'm cool. And Ab's like, I didn't know you were that afraid of the open ocean. I was like, why the fuck wouldn't you be? And she's like, I think we could swim further. I'm like, no, no, we can't. You can, and that's a you problem. I'm fucking going back.
yeah. What part in Jaws triggers you the most of that kind of thing?
Well, the thing is, this is what triggers me the most, actually, is I really don't have that issue in Jaws outside of maybe the nighttime scene when they're out by themselves and they find that boat. Because then I
That's
know that's pure open
that's
ocean and that's
yeah.
fucked.
That's to me that's the best scene in Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
It because it's at night. You already know, hey, that shark has already fucked up this boat. So you know inherently the shark has been close to there already.
Yes, you know the danger's there.
And they set up the territorial part of it already, territoriality. So it's like they're setting you up to be like, hey, the shark is near.
They're setting you up for Richard Dreyfuss is about to die. And the
Yeah.
entire time you're just like,
Yeah, I love the fact that they also for that one particular scare where the head comes out.
yeah.
I know it didn't work in the original cut, like something was off the timing or something. So they went and reshot it in the editor's swimming pool, Verna Fields.
Hell yeah.
And then her house went up for sale like 5 years ago or something like that. And I was like, oh, that'd be so awesome to live in the house where they shot part of Jaws.
It is a nice seller's note to just be like, hey, you want to go shoot Jaws? Because they did it. We can do
Yeah,
it too.
literally in the swimming pool. Like, that's so awesome.
It is kind of funny, the ingenuity, when you get to learn those things. I was like, that was shot in a tank. That wasn't open ocean. There's no way they can control that much. Like, that was shot in a tank of some kind. What tank was it? And you're like, yeah, it's a backyard swimming pool. And you're like,
Yeah.
nice.
And apparently it was reshoots. So maybe they did actually shoot it on open ocean originally. Maybe. I'm not
That'd
100%
be
sure.
wild. How can you, like, the lighting alone would be such a pain in the ass.
Well, this whole movie was a pain in the ass, apparently. So,
Clearly. Uh, let's go back here a little bit. Let's go back to the politics, because I just think there's so much fun to deal with. That mayor's a piece of shit.
yes, he is a piece of shit. It's always going to be relevant. There's always going to be dirty to politicians.
I think the scene in which, because as you said, there is real merit to that argument.
And
Where it'd
that's
be like, we live our lives based off of these 3 months. We have Memorial Day to Labor Day. That is when we make money. We do not make money outside of the season. Because the thing is this, for the last 15, 20 years, every tourist attraction across the planet, but specifically the United States, that was seasonal has started to bleed into other months. Or they've created things around their business to give them year-round funds.
Yeah.
For instance, Ab and I just drove through the Wisconsin Dells the last weekend. Very seasonal when we were kids, to the point where if so, like the first time they had an indoor water park, people lost their minds because they're like, "Wait, you can go to the Dells, not in June or July?" And you're like, "Yeah, crazy, right? Like, city still exists. Who would have thought?" Like,
Hmm.
but those things that bled now, but especially back in the day, coastal communities, cities of that nature, it was all you make your money Memorial Day to Labor Day, and the 4th of July is always your biggest money maker, because that is when people are off, that is when people are going to spend money, and that's what's going to happen. That's official
Yeah.
merit. But then when he gets into the slime of, getting the coroner to change the reports, and you're like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Dad, you're a piece of shit for that. Fuck you.
Yeah. Well, I love that he's not telling them to change the report. He's just saying, "Well, it could have been a boat, right?" It's like, you're such a dick, dude.
Like, it's even, you'd almost respect him more if he's like, change it to boat. We need to
Yeah.
protect this community. But instead, he immediately, well, it could have been a boat. Could have been a boat.
But hey, the coroner, he also plays along.
Well, yeah, the coroner's a fucking spineless piece of trash, too. Fuck that guy, too. Stand
Yeah.
by your records. This is exactly why we're in the trouble that we're in this country, but it's a different story all entirely. But the political underlinings are awesome. Because you just see a man at his wit's end going, God fucking damn it. Can you fuckers just get out of my way one time?
Yeah.
And then the fact that his kids are constantly in danger too, which is another like, what are you doing? Why are you even bringing them?
Yeah. Well, that's where he has his little turn where he's like, "Oh, my kids were on the beach as well."
Yeah.
So it's like, at least he has a little bit of a change of heart. Like, a lot of movies nowadays wouldn't put that nuance in there at all.
No.
They would just have him be, a
Just
piece
be
of
the
shit
villain and be
entire
the
time.
villain. Yes.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to that scene of, we've already established the shark is in danger. The shark is dangerous. We've already established that the community knows about the shark. And he's on the beach going. It's the scene in which we're setting up. Are we setting up his kids in the pond? Either.
The kids in the pond is the same scene where there's that fake out with the kids playing with the
And then there's the
like,
real one. Yes.
the fake fin.
I love how they think they've solved the problem. Well, the mayor, he doesn't think it. He just wants it to be, so he just
No,
does
yeah,
it.
he's willing it into existence where he's like, "That was the shark, we know it, we got it."
We got him. It's like, you do know sharks everywhere.
And also, like, for one, that is a real shark. I'm pretty sure, the
Hmm.
one that they caught.
Yeah,
And it's like, you really think that shark was the one killing people?
yeah,
Like that has to be like a mako shark or something. Like
something
it is,
that.
it's small.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, it's a tiger shark," and
Oh yeah, they do say it's a tiger shark.
you're like,
And then there's the
okay,
great line where that guy turns. He must not be a real actor. He must have been a townie.
yeah.
Where he's like, "Oh, what?" Like that line always sticks in my mind.
It's good, but I just love that shot of we're establishing the fake out and everything, but the mayor's on the beach and he's like, "Why aren't you swimming?"
That's where he's a real dick, where he's pressuring other people to go swimming.
Exactly. And what I don't understand, this is where I question all their logic. The thing is this. As much as I hate to admit it, I've played good soldier more times in my life than I'd like to admit. Where someone's
Hmm.
like, just do it. And I'm like, I think this is a really bad decision, but technically this is my responsibility, so
Yeah,
I will do something that I think I can be comfortable with, but I'm not super comfortable with.
yeah. Where it's what's it called? There's a term for it. A malicious compliance, where you know something is inherently wrong, but you do it anyways.
Yes, I can't. I've never done anything that's true malicious compliance, but there's certainly stuff where, because of the nature of my job or whatever,
Yeah,
I just go,
yeah. And there is a difference because he is putting other people at risk
yeah,
rather than he could go out there and swim, get people in the water.
exactly. I would have respected him 10 times more if
That's
that was the
true.
truth. But what I don't understand, this family, he just accepts it.
Oh yeah,
Why are you swimming to the point where you can't stand? Like, to me, I would have been like, let's go splash around. Like, the
yeah,
kids can
yeah,
be here. Like, if he was gonna force my kids to be a part of it, which I've never, there's no way I'd risk a kid. I'd be like, no.
yeah.
You need to prove that every shark is without a 100-mile radius for me to let a child in here. First of all,
Also, I love the fact that that one family goes in and then immediately everyone else is like, okay, you can
must be
go
safe.
in.
And to be fair, that is a real thing that happens all the time
Yeah,
psychologically.
that's true.
You
Yeah,
need
that is true.
same thing. Look at a wedding dance floor. Perfect example.
Sure.
A lot of people, like, the music starts going and everyone's at the table, and you can tell there's some people that want to do it, but they're like, I ain't gonna be the first to do it.
Yeah, yeah. They don't want to be the first. That is the
Someone else has
fear.
to go, and once someone else goes, more people will jump in. There's a reason they always start with like a father-daughter dance or something of the nature, because then they already see someone dancing psychologically. It must be okay, and then they say, okay, we'd love to join, get all the other couples out here as well, and then you're like, okay,
Mhm.
we're safe. But a dance floor is the perfect example of that psychology in normal life, beyond Shark Attack Beach.
Yeah, that's true.
Why the fuck are they swimming to a point where they're just swimming? There's
Yeah.
nothing under them. Get the fuck back!
Well, you would think there'd be more people in the pond where Brody sends his kids.
Yes!
Like that would make a lot more sense, but it doesn't set up nearly like that's a great scene
Oh,
because of that.
oh, the trampling and everything else too. It's awesome. That,
Hmm.
that fucking guy that just takes out three kids' boats and he's just stealing stuff. That
Yeah,
bigger
yeah,
guy, and you're like, you're a piece of shit. First of all, like, I understand panic. Panic is a real thing that happens to human beings, but you have trudged through multiple children and put them at risk of either, in your mind, dying of a shark attack or drowning because of your fucking dumbass actions. You're like,
yeah.
nope. And the fact that he takes the kid's boat and swims
Yep.
away,
It takes a floaty.
it is
Yeah.
incredible. Incredible.
And that's why Verna Fields, the editor, I think she's like the MVP of this movie.
I was gonna say that in
The
the episode
editing
as well.
of
I
everything.
made note to look through those credits and be like, that editor's on point.
Yeah, and she won the Oscar that year for it, which is 100% warranted.
Yeah.
Like the chaos that they put in that scene is amazing. I love it.
Well, I also love that first shot when they lose the first kid and they establish that the whole town now knows it's a shark attack.
Oh, Alex Kittner.
But that shot that zooms in on Scheider,
Yeah, the dolly zoom.
and it gets the eyes widening and he just knows, and that sets up the other panic moment and trampling
Mhm.
people. I'm like, this is incredible
I
to
mean,
see
that
the
is
psychology of people.
yeah, that is the iconic shot of Jaws.
Yeah,
It's not my favorite shot, I will say that.
yeah.
But I mean, that is if you're gonna pick anything to be like iconic, it's that.
I would say that is full heartedly one of my favorite shots of the film. Now, we got to talk about the ending here. I just want to bring up the music a hair more and then talk about some character work. The music that's remembered from this movie is so wildly different than the majority of the music that's in this film. Everyone remembers obviously the classic dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the most iconic. But there's such happy, cheery, romantic music.
Yeah. It's a there's times where it's like a real adventure romp.
Yes! And I don't know if it's just because of the circumstances I watched this film for the first time all the way through that I just like completely forgot about it and spaced it. But I was like, John Williams is having some fun here, doing some wild shit that just doesn't
Yeah.
immediately think
Well,
you're like, oh, thriller, Jaws.
well, I love that it's like as soon as the music changes into like a little bit more adventurous, like okay, we're safe now, we're good.
Yes, and that's very intentional, and I really like those. I have that note where I love my favorite use of music of this entire film is the 4th of July call montage where you have all the people rushing into the island coming off the ferry and showing all the businesses and the beaches filling up, and it just keeps getting interspersed cuts with Brody and which was Richard Dreyfuss's character's name? It's gonna drive me crazy. Hooper. Hooper.
Yeah, Hooper.
I love the two of them just on the phone to other people being like, I need some help. And you just get this nice cheery music going out the entire time. It is such a great way to keep your characters moving and show how stressed they are while also showing the mood that everyone thinks they're going to get and just killing it immediately with the shark. I just love that juxtaposition of that cheery music and the cacophony of all the chaos that's happening around them. That's such a great way. The really cheery adventure music when they're pulling out to sea for the first time with Quint, or when Quint's on the front of the bow with the harpoon gun, and it's just full on pirate sailor music from like 1940s, where it's just like adventure music. You're like, where the fuck did this come from?
I love it.
Oh, it's
Like,
great.
Yeah. I One of my favorite aspects of the movie is how you can boil down the score to just like those two iconic notes, but there's so much more to it than that.
There's so much more nuance that people will never understand.
Yeah, because there's even like more quiet parts with like the family and the wife and stuff.
I did want to bring that up, and thank you for saying it. That scene, I know I'm a sucker. Everyone knows probably by now that listens to the show regularly. I'm a sucker for family moments, broken family moments, and kid moments. I work with children. It makes sense. That moment where his son is just mirroring him.
Yeah,
It's
great
perfect.
Spielberg moment.
It is perfectly placed to give you hope. Because everything beforehand has been showing you, don't have hope. Hope's a stupid decision in this movie. And I love the fact that it gives him this hope and just like... And I love the line still, too. He's still beaten down. He's like, give Dad a kiss. He's like, why? He's like, because he needs it.
Yeah, I need it. Yeah,
And it's just, that's so good.
that's like
so
classic
good.
Spielberg. Because you also get that in Temple of Doom, where short rounds copy.
God, that scene's great. God, that
Yeah.
scene's great.
There's a lot of that in Spielberg where it's a kid copying an older adult figure, like father figure.
He gets it, man. Guy just gets it.
He understands like a family dynamic a lot better than a lot of like just pure dramatic directors do.
Yeah.
Where like he's not actually directing dramas that often, but there's a lot of good like family drama dynamics.
Yes.
E.T. is a great example of that too.
I know this is literally just the Spielberg Appreciation Hour as always, which is every show at this point. But the guy's the fucking best, man.
Yeah. Well, also like I think most people know inherently like Jaws is one of the greatest films ever made.
It's fucking.
Most people would put it on that list.
They know, they respect it. Whether they like it or
Out of,
not, they respect it.
yeah. Out of curiosity, I'm gonna look up where it is on the AFI list.
Interesting. Okay.
Because at one point, I think it was in the top five. Now I don't know where it is actually.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was that high. I,
So it's not Spielberg's highest as of whatever the most recent list is.
I'm assuming
Uh,
Schindler's List would be higher,
yeah, Schindler's List is number 8.
even though Raiders is the
Uh,
best film he's ever directed, and I'll go to my grave believing that.
yeah, Jaws is number 56 right now.
Raiders on that list?
Let's look. Let's see. Let me search
Because
for
if
it.
it's not, this list is a sham and has no credibility whatsoever.
66. So 10 lower. But I see a bunch of movies on here that I would not put on a top 100.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I am interested to eventually when we get to the what do we think are the actual best movies, not just our favorites.
Mm.
When I'm talking about fucking
Well,
Casper up in this bitch.
yeah, I see one already. Number 32 is The Godfather Part 2. And most people would put that in the top 5.
I think that's such an overrated film. I really do.
I like the first one a lot more.
I do
A lot
too.
more.
I think I have a significant love for Godfather over Godfather 2. I don't get
Yeah.
this whole Godfather 2 is one of the greatest. Oh my god. La, 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 la. Jesus
It's a great
Christ.
film, but
It's legitimately a great film. I'm not going to sit here and say there isn't majesty to this film, and the ending is incredible. But so much of it, I'm like, what the? We don't need this shit. Half that movie is I don't like. You don't need this shit.
and that's another good example of like a 70s movie that is built like entirely on an ensemble.
Yes.
And the Jaws is great, like the the interplay between the three leads,
Yes.
because technically speaking, I mean Scheider is kind of like the lead character,
Yeah.
but Hooper and Quint also get a lot of screen time,
Yes, they do. As they should.
and that's what I like about it. Yeah.
And again, it's a. You didn't see the film and you didn't see the review yet, but the new Wes Anderson film, The Phoenician Scheme, which review
Hmm.
is available on the channel right now if you're interested. Which I loved The Phoenician Scheme, by the way, but it really boils down to classic Wes Anderson again, where he figures three characters. There's one true lead. There's two really strong pieces aside with him, and then there
Hmm.
are other people that get to play. But we're really worried about these three, and one is technically the lead.
That's
Uh,
nice. I like that.
and that's I think Jaws is a perfect example of that formula, just like the Phoenician Scheme is, where it's very much it's Benicio del Toro. This is Benicio del Toro's movie, but Mia Threepleton and Michael Cera are heavy contenders in that. Where I would say, yes, Roy Scheider, this is his film,
Hmm.
but Richard Dreyfuss and Aidan Quinn are both, or Anthony Quinn are right there. You know,
Robert Shaw.
Robert
That's
Shaw.
Quint.
Thank you. I always fuck up that name.
Anthony Quinn is another classic great actor.
I know that's why I always put it in my mind when I hear Quint. I'm like, oh, it's just the Seinfeld in me. It comes out like stage and screen legend Anthony Quinn. You're like, what? Why the fuck are we talking about this?
He's a screen legend. I'd give him that.
Oh, I'm not disputing that, but I'm like, it's always like, why the fuck are we talking about this in Seinfeld? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's true.
And also, why is Kramer involved in this conversation? Like, what are we talking about? Let's go towards the end. Obviously, we
Well,
could talk
real
about this
real
forever.
quick, I just want to point out my favorite shot
Yeah,
of the
yes,
movie,
please do it.
which which is it's during the pond attack scene,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the over the top shot where you're looking down directly down at the water, and you see the shark coming under and grabbing the guy's leg when he falls off his boat.
That's a nice shot.
Because that's the part where I think the shark looks 100% real.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's the best shark looks in this entire
Yeah.
film.
Like, that's how you hide it perfectly.
Yeah, because what's funny is, like, this film is rated PG, which I know the PG-13 rating did not exist.
Yeah.
But this would definitely be an R-rated film now. This would not be a
Oh,
PG film.
100%.
Or it would or maybe it would probably actually get a PG-13 rating, but it'd be one where you're like, ugh. I don't know if my kids need to go see that right now. Like, Jaws is a film where you and I both did not grow up in a censored house, but Jaws is one I'm like, let's hold that back for a little bit. Let's wait till
I
they're.
watched I watched Jaws when I was really young.
Well, I fucking know. You watched way too many things when you were really young.
Yeah, that's true.
You mean Child's
I
Play by
remember,
yourself at 5? Yeah, I remember that shit.
yeah,
Because I was
I was
like,
gonna
I'm
say
not interested.
I remember being obsessed with the first two Jawses very clearly when I was like 7 or 6 or something like that. Which I don't know, like Jaws is not a movie that I actually think of as being scary a lot of the times, but I
No.
think to most people it is.
Yeah. It's the concept of the reality of the situation again. When you watch a horror film and it's ghosts or it's monsters or whatever,
Yeah.
as much as you are scared in the moment, you're not scared in actuality. Because your brain can go, well, this shit ain't real. So, like, don't worry about
Yeah.
it. With a shark, you're like, well, that is real.
Yeah.
And the amount of shots of them just, like, shooting people floating and swimming.
All the underwater shots.
Yeah, all those underwater shots that are also oddly just, like, not smooth, which I think is really smart. But they don't like smooth their way through people and like pass by and like now you
I
get a very swift, smooth course
Yeah.
where it
Well,
feels
now
very
you
much choppy, 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 which I think is smart,
now you wouldn't even be shooting that shot. It'd be 100% CG.
which is stupid,
100%.
which is dumb.
I totally agree, but like I will never fault any movie back in the day because I cannot fathom how they use film cameras underwater. Like I've never actually seen a rig where it's built for underwater. So I'm always like the fact like Creature of the Black Lagoon, which came out I don't know 55ish, somewhere in the mid 50s,
Yeah, I think it's the late 50s. Yeah.
and even that I'm like this movie's
50.
amazing.
Oh yeah, no,
Just simply because they're shooting stuff underwater with a film camera.
yeah, it's pretty
awesome.
wild. It's pretty fucking wild when you're like, God damn, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Especially when you see like how big cameras were back then.
Oh,
Yeah.
it it's wildly impressive when they're doing that, and I love that you brought that shot up because it talks towards we're building our monster. We are building this problem.
hmm
And then when we get to it, you're like, God damn. Okay. It's pretty impressive. Like,
Yeah. I think the most effective shot in the movie is probably where Brody is throwing the chum out on the
yes.
ocean. That's probably the most effective scare in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's another great shot. Like,
Well, just the
just
over
classic
the
suspense.
shoulder, and you just. And he's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly what would happen. You'd be like, nope.
Yeah. And then you get the, you need a bigger, we need a bigger boat line.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
Oh, it's tremendous. But I love when it's swimming away, or it's that first time they identify it, and he's like, that's 20 footer. That's 25 footer, son. You're like,
yeah.
yep. This is
Yeah.
a problem. I really do love the interplay between the three of them on that boat. Do you know there's the shooting star in that one shot?
hmm
I love that shot, even though that has nothing to do with anything. I'm just like, cool.
I think, trying to remember, one of the uh, releases of the movie, like either deleted that or changed it somehow. But then
Interesting.
they put it back in.
Because I don't know why it's there.
No, either do I, but I like it. I don't mind
Oh,
it
I
at
love
all.
the shot. It's beautiful, but I don't get it. You
I
know,
don't know if it has a meaning.
and that's my thing. I don't think it has a meaning. And when you invite something that you think could have a meaning,
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
I don't like people that they're like, did you see that the coffee brand that they were using is the same as the one in the shot? Where I'm like, shut the fuck up. It's a coffee brand.
Well, I mean, it's classic like English teacher where it's like overanalyzing everything.
Well, there's a reason I didn't become an English teacher because I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not
The
playing this game.
Shine, The Shining has a lot of that overanalyzation.
Well, not to get personal here, but that is part of the reason I don't like some of that profession is that it was wild to me analyzing some work and be like this and that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that means nothing. And until I
Yeah,
hear the author come out and tell me that your analysis is correct, I'm gonna assume that was just a fun detail.
yeah,
There are thematic things. There's analysis. Most of analysis that we get is interpretation. It's not
yeah.
what they actually put in, and that's why when Dropout has a great skit on their show Make Some Noise, which is all improv. And they're like three film students who really think they're doing like analyzing the film. And they're like, did you see how he did a quarter turn of the water bottle in it? And they all like they know what they're saying is bullshit, but they have to keep analyzing it, and
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
whole premise of the skit. I just the shooting star. I'm just like, was there a purpose? Did you
I
just
don't think
chuck it
so.
in to chuck it in? I don't know, and that's where I just
Yeah,
go. I can understand the taking it out because I think I would have made the decision take it out. I don't want anyone to reach into this too much and then be confused and then be like, "Well, the shooting star, I don't know." I'm like, just take it out so it won't be a
I,
problem.
I, if I remember right, I could be completely wrong about this. It had something to do with the shooting star either not being realistic at that time of the year on that in that year, or it was because there was a shooting star around that time. I can't remember which one,
Interesting.
but that's why it was changed, and now it's restored back to the original. So it
Wild.
really doesn't matter, I guess.
So we don't have to go through the whole ending, obviously, even though it's rad. Just watch it, enjoy it.
I mean, I think most people have seen Jaws now.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah, I do hope so, because, like I said, one of my favorite movies.
Well, you're obsessed with it as a 6-year-old, so of course
Yeah. Hey, it's a movie that's aged well for me.
it's
So,
it's really well. I will say this: the true ending is somewhat sudden.
mm, I don't know if I 100% agree. It is not a classic movie that you would get 10 years later, for sure,
Yeah,
where they have like perfected a climax
yeah.
of it. Like this, you also have to remember is like the first technical blockbuster.
That's what I'm saying. Is like that's what I was going to when we started the show. Where I was like, you can tell that this is a genius that hasn't figured out he's a master yet, and he
Yeah.
hasn't truly figured it out yet. But those raw materials are like this is gonna be good, because I think that I did have this note. The first real Spielberg pacing magic is the first encounter when they get the air tank in the first time. That's
Hmm.
the first time you actually get that. The panic on the beach and everything, those are great, and I don't want to dispute them whatsoever. But the first time I think you really get to see something that everyone would go, that's why he's the best in the world, is that first encounter on the boat and they get the tank in. Because you're getting all these different interspersed things that are getting cut so perfectly that the pacing is just frenetic and it feels tangible and real. That was the one time in the film more than any I went, yep, that was that playoff game where you just went, yep, he's the quarterback. We know, no problems.
So going back to what you said earlier, what was your problem that you were talking about?
I would have liked again talking about how they didn't fully know yet how to do it. Quint's death is rad. That's awesome, but it
Oh,
kind of
it's
just
amazing.
pops out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's the one shot I don't like in the movie is the shark coming up over the top of the back of the boat.
Yeah,
That's the one shot in the movie that I don't think has aged well.
I think that's where it gets a hair cheesy.
I think if they just had like the shark ram the back of the boat and like kind of break it, and then have him like swim into the boat like he does later, where Brody shoves the tank into his mouth,
Yeah.
I think that would look a little better. I don't fault them completely because at the time it probably did look pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the one shot where I'm like, oh, I
And I would
wish
have
that would be
liked
better.
just 5 seconds. I'm not asking for a minute of film here. 5 more seconds of establish the threat. Establish not only the shark is on here, tip, have him dangle 2 extra seconds and show the mouth of the shark 1 extra time. Build the, oh shit, he's going down.
Who Quint?
Yeah. And then have one more, and then it goes. And then you,
I I actually like how it plays out where he's like trying to hold on to Brody,
yeah, I'm saying give
and
me
then he just
five more
slips.
seconds of that. Give me 5 more
Oh, okay.
seconds of the have the incline,
Yeah,
show the shark, show him scrambling, show the shark, show him scramble again, boom. Then the whole thing takes off
yeah.
just like it would. Just because I think all of a sudden it goes, it happens so quickly that I think you lose a little bit of that staging magic that he's so good at because it happens to
I
go,
think
oh, well, we're
yeah.
inclined and now he's falling into a shark's mouth. Oh, okay.
I think I think Spielberg 10 years later probably would have another couple little shots of suspense
Yeah,
there
just three
before just
seconds. Three
yeah.
seconds. 5 seconds.
Cuz like that seems like a perfect like Indiana Jones type thing
Yes.
where it's like perfectly paced in the action. Whereas this does feel a little bit more like run and gun kind of style, which
Yes.
I love, so I can't fault it.
Oh, no, no. The run and gun is great, and I'd rather have that over too much. I
Oh
just
yeah, 100%.
I brought this up on another show. Just saw Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. There's a lot of that movie where I just go too much, and I love that
Uh,
franchise, but I'm like too much.
I when I saw the runtime of that, I was like, oof, it's too long, Tom.
Oh no,
Too
I
long.
was giving a quick review to Ab when I was like preparing the show notes and stuff, and I was sharing your anything over 2 hours. I'm not interested. Like,
In theaters, yeah. I mean, I don't mind a 3-hour movie at home, but
no, I know, but like, I was like, Dylan rules. I think they could have cut 20 minutes out of the movie and would have been a far superior movie.
yeah.
And I just
Especially a movie like Mission Impossible.
the whole time I was just hearing you going too long. It's too
I
long.
mean, yeah, because when you think of it, I think Jaws clocks in. I think it's like exactly 2 hours. I
Yeah,
think
it is not a long one.
like they don't put any fluff in there, which this movie could have put in.
Just a
I
little.
also I
Just a
have you
little.
ever have you ever read the book?
No.
Okay, neither have I. Because I know like they cut out a whole thing about Hooper having an affair with Brody's wife, stuff like that.
What?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in the book that gets cut out just to streamline everything.
Yeah, definitely necessary. It's smart cut on their part. You don't need that
Oh
shit.
yeah, 100%. Because
The
like
whole point is we're rooting for the guy to kill the shark.
exactly, the threat is the shark. Like you don't need anything other than
Are
that.
you trying to say that your friends are sharks and that's the real threat? Like, not necessary.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about. I mean, I hey, it was a bestseller, so like, I can't fault the
It
guy.
works, and I mean, he had one of the best ideas that's ever reached cinema. So clearly, he did something right.
Yeah,
That's just
he's
one real.
also he has a little cameo as the reporter on the beach.
Oh, that's him.
Yep, that's Peter Benchley.
Okay,
There's
good.
a lot of like fun cameos because one of the writers, Carl Gottlieb, who was good friends with Spielberg, he's one of the like mayor's goons, the like bigger guy.
Nice.
Yeah, on the ferry scene, he's in there.
I think
Trying
you
to
should.
think of other
I think
ones.
any crew member that wants to get in, that's perfect. Throw him in shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe give him one word to say. You don't have to say a ton if you're gonna give him. Yeah, I don't think they need a speaking part. To be fair, but if you're gonna do it, make it small, make it count.
Yeah, but if he gets a speaking role, then he gets a royalties.
Also true. Do your boys a solid
Yeah.
and get him a royalty check. Yeah, going back to Quint's death, it's fucking rad how he's just getting chomped on and screaming, blood's going
Oh,
everywhere.
I love when he's shoving the machete into him. It
Yes,
looks so awesome.
that's wild. But then when we actually have the boat sinking and we have Brody there by himself, the other flaw I have is I would have liked just one, two, maybe three extra beats between the line and the explosion. I would have loved just
Boots.
one more
I
I want
disagree
I
completely.
want one more focus, one more shark. Shot happens, everything happens. I want the line, and I want to see one more. Again, it's probably the limitations of the technology, but I want to see one more head-on vicious looking motherfucker, and then explosion. I'm talking about maybe 5 seconds max, but I'm talking about 2 to 3
Yeah.
seconds. I just want a hair more breathing room between, the classic line and bam.
To me, that putting in more of that would put it into the aspect of like an Arnold Stallone type of like one-liner,
Okay,
whereas this does not feel like a one-liner.
true.
It just feels like a great moment in the movie,
Yeah,
an iconic moment. That's why I don't mind it at all. I do see what you're saying. I think you would get that if it was made in the 80s, where it's more of a an action
yeah.
film. But yeah, I have no problem. I love it
Smile, you
as
son
is.
of a bitch, and you're like, nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then the explosion looks so great.
Explosion looks great. Looks
And I
great.
love you get that little moment where it's like instead of playing like sinister music as the shark floats down, it's kind of like a like magisterial type of music. It's like enchanting rather than like dreadful.
Again, I think that is. I don't think it's a flaw. I would have preferred what you're saying probably over that if I were making this film. That's probably what I would have done. Is
It actually reminds me of well, I should say Godzilla minus one reminds me a lot of Jaws in that sense, where as soon as they think Godzilla is dead in Godzilla minus one, everyone like salutes to it, and
yeah,
they're playing like respectful music over it. It's like it's a really weird moment that I really like.
true, true. I again not a flaw. Didn't have an issue with anything. There are some times that I think the tone gets a little too cheery in the music for my personal tastes,
I could see that. Yeah,
but I don't think it's flawed. I don't think it's wrong. I just think that again, I think I'm seeing a what's the best way to say this? I'm not seeing someone's Super Bowl run where you just go, they're unbeatable. I'm not watching the 18-0 Patriots. I'm watching the
yeah.
Giants that beat them that year.
Well,
And that play
yeah,
their first playoff game where you're like, "Oh shit, this team's really good, but they got some flaws that could be taken
yeah.
advantage of."
And and as far as like the team of Jaws,
Yeah.
these are all people who pretty much are still rising.
Yeah.
Like Richard Dreyfuss is not a huge star. Roy Scheider never really became a huge star, unfortunately, even though I think he's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Robert Shaw was arguably trailing down rather than up because he was like had huge alcohol problems and everything, and apparently he was a huge fucking problem on set. Him and Dreyfuss like hated each other, but then there's like a really great clip of Robert Shaw's daughter telling Richard Dreyfuss like years later like how much her dad respected him, and he like starts crying. It's a really great moment.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and like these are all people on the ascendancy rather than people in the prime of like
Yes.
their craft.
I just think Jaws is a Jaws is a perfect example of when you see a team and you're like, within the next 3 years they're going to win a Super Bowl, or this is
Sure.
a student that you see that you're like, they're
Hey,
going
Richard
places.
Dreyfuss, he wins an Oscar 3 years later.
I mean, yeah, he's a hell of a talented actor. I
Yeah.
don't love all of his takes nowadays, but
Oh yeah, he's problematic now.
I like to the point where now when he pops up in '80s movies I didn't know about, I'm like,
He's another
you.
person who like never became a star, even though I think he had the chops to be.
I just don't think he selected things that made. I think he was an actor's actor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Well, I
he
mean,
and he
That's
didn't want to do stuff that was because
that's
in
the
the
70s.
80s, to be the star in the 80s, you had to do the big action
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
You didn't, and then that model is taken even into the 90s to a degree where although we start getting the Brad Pitts and the George Clooney's and that of those kind of stars, they're a twist of a throwback to like a Cary Grant plus the action mold of, well, you got to be
Yeah.
attractive and you got to be this and you got to be the leading man kind of thing. Richard Dreyfuss doesn't have any of that.
Yeah,
He's just a
I was
super talented actor.
yeah, I just looked up because I knew like there was a couple like casting what ifs
Yeah.
because I know Spielberg wanted Lee Marvin for Quint,
Yeah.
which that's not bad casting. Like I think Robert Shaw is like 10 times the actor of Lee Marvin,
Sure.
but also he was a huge drunk at this point, so it's like I can't fault any studio for saying, we don't work with him."
Yep.
And then the other one that I had to look up right now is John Voight for Hooper, which John Voight was a bigger star at that point.
Yeah, I just see John Voight. I've only seen him in the Quint role in my life, and it's weird to see John Voight in those younger roles. So that's why I'm like,
Yeah,
that's a Quint. That ain't a Hooper. That's a Quint right
but
there.
he was in Midnight Cowboy
Yeah.
in '69 that won Best Picture, so he was like an established star at that point.
Yeah. That's fucking wild, though.
The other casting that 9 times out of 10 you'll hear about this, it won't work. The wife, Brody's wife in it, is the studio head's wife, and I don't know if they forced her in there or what, but like I would you would assume like her connection to the studio head probably has
Nepo.
something to do with it.
Nepo. Yes.
But like
It
I think
worked.
it works. Yeah, like
Not
it's not
knowing that, I thought it
distracting.
worked, and she did a great job.
Exactly. It's like 9 times out of 10 you hear that story, you're like, yeah, you can kind of tell like she doesn't have the chops,
Mm-hmm.
but she's really great in this movie.
Something tells me this movie's pretty damn good.
Yep. I mean, there's a reason it was first blockbuster.
How much money did it make? We didn't really cover that, but
Oh yeah, let me pull that up. Okay, 1975.
it's obviously the number one at the box office in 1975.
Yeah.
It's the
Yes.
first summer blockbuster. I would say this. It's the beta summer blockbuster test. Or it's the alpha
Yeah.
summer blockbuster test, but the beta test that's even better is Star Wars. In terms of
Hmm.
a blockbuster, I prefer Jaws over New Hope, I think.
So do I. So do I.
Um, but
That's no surprise though,
yeah, I mean,
considering my opinion of Star Wars.
no, share it some more.
So domestic 267 million.
It's a hell of a lot of money, dude.
I don't know if that includes re-releases, but I'm sure like re-releases is probably under 30 million under
Yeah.
that. So like still in the
Well,
200s.
it took a bunch away from the rest of the box offices in history because an anniversary screening at Jaws is the reason you don't go to a theater anymore.
That's true. That is 100% true.
Just because a bunch of Gen Zers had to be on their phone and ruin the movie for you.
Yeah. They would not get off their phone. They wouldn't stop talking. So I walked out and said, never again.
If it was
And
any
then
other movie, I think you would have just been like, "Fuck these kids." But it had to be Jaws.
probably.
It's
Yeah.
it's no different than if it was one of my babies and I was in the theater just being like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah. And then worldwide, 477 million.
Holy shit, that's a lot of money back in '75.
Yeah. That's a huge, huge success.
Something tells
Like,
me the Spielberg kid's gonna do pretty well.
hey, I'm glad he proved them wrong because this could have been a huge disaster.
Well, I mean, how many movies? Jaws, original Star Wars, Titanic. How many of those productions were just mauled with shit? And everyone's like, it's going to be one of the worst things we've ever put out. And that's one of the defining films of a studio. It's one of the defining
Yeah.
films of a career, and establishes tons of Hollywood stuff. Like,
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I looked up the budget, and it was originally slated for 4 million, and it ended up costing 9 million. So talk about a return on investment. Holy shit.
Great return on investment, but in terms of today's dollars, that's a hell of an overspend. To be like, oh, we're slating it for this. Nope, we're gonna double it and go over even more than double the cost. You're like, fuck that.
Yeah. That would be pretty crazy to say like, "Oh, your budget's 100 million." And then it ends up costing 200 million. Yeah.
Ooh.
But hey, it all worked out
Would you
for them.
say it's worth the box office, Dylan?
100%. I mean, like I said, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. I knew we had to prioritize this one over Jurassic World, regardless of the anniversary, everything, because it's like we just need to make
Yeah.
Dylan happy.
I have not rewatched Jurassic World yet. I'm gonna try to go in. I'm gonna try to forget like my original.
Your negativity actually helped me in the screening of it because then I went, I think this is pretty good. Like,
Okay, yeah, because I have not rewatched it in a long time.
I think
So
there's certainly things that pulled apart, but it still did the good movie thing for me. Where my notes trail off as the movie usually goes if it's really
okay,
good, and it trailed off for the last like 40 minutes. I was like, oh fuck, I didn't really make a note. I gotta make some
okay,
notes here.
that makes me a little bit more excited to watch
I
it.
mean, I don't know if it's a good selling point because I know you have a baseline more negative opinion about it than I do.
Yeah.
But I I went in and I was like pleasantly surprised. I'm pretty happy with this.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, yeah, I don't think you could have two more different movies
Yeah,
in terms of like anniversary specials,
yeah,
but
it'll be fun. So we just covered the 50th anniversary of Jaws, one of Dylan's favorites. You'll be seeing us a lot in the next week as we're going to be hitting Jurassic World. You're going to be getting our top 100 series. I believe that one's what 50 through 40, if I recall correctly now, because we're now into month 6 of that project. So you're going to get 50 through 41 of that, and then you're going to get Back to the Future just in time for its 40th anniversary. Holy shit, Back to the Future's 40 years old. We're getting old. We're
yeah,
getting
yeah,
old.
yeah.
I remember when that was still like, that didn't come out that long ago when we were kids. Because all our parents were like, it didn't come out that long ago. But then,
Yeah, I the one that I remember clearly is the 30th anniversary, I want to say it was.
yeah,
That's the one I most remember is like the release of that.
yeah. God, it's been a while. But you're going to see a lot of good film content coming your way here on the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. So stay tuned for more. And we thank you wherever you are listening or watching. It has been appreciated to be a part of it. Thank you so much. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Goodbye.